what the first compassion's object is. We have already talked about that, clinging to the self and the notion of mind and object. That produces this suffering of suffering and the suffering of change. Second one, this one is more exclusively suffering of change, and also I should expect also a little bit all-encompassing suffering. All-encompassing suffering. Fleeting is the important word here. Everything is changing all the time. Nothing sits still. Why? Compounded phenomena. Compounded. Everything is being compounded, being created. Everything is changing. Beginning, changing, uncertainty. That phenomena, that aspect of the phenomena, the fleeting aspect of the phenomena is the object. Fleeting. Why? Because it is compounded phenomena. Compounding meaning it is manipulatable. Right? You can manipulate it because it's compounded. It can be harmed. It can be influenced. It can be altered. As long as something can be altered, as long as something can be manipulated, there's no happiness. Uncertainty. Anytime you lose it. Very difficult to understand that though, because our habit thinks that it's other way around. Because most of the time, so-called our happiness is trying to solve the problem. Isn't it? We have so much joy in fixing the problems. One after another, not one problem. And if you go in the street, there's so many things advertised. This washing dishes, or powder, or this, or vacuum cleaner, or do that, and kinds of things like things, all kinds of things. Everything is designed to solve problems. But what they haven't realized is when if a problem is something that can be solved, then that means it is it's a good news, of course, but the very good news is also the cause of the bad news. Meaning, if you don't rely, you can depend on the problem solver. If you are not loyal to this problem solver for even one instant, you are in pain. You have to always make sure that the problem solver is charged. You understand? Insured, everything. So this is the ongoing fleeting world that we have, and that is the object of that separate person. As much as it sounds so profound, this yet again, relating to the Mahayana, this is another common compassion, but not common with the Hindus, not common with the theologians. This is a common compassion with the Sharvakas and Takedakas. They have that compassion too. Okay, we have learned a lesson here, because I always hear this, Hinayana people don't have compassion. They do. Yes. They have very big compassion. They have a compassion towards, to the object that is fleeting. And that's a very big compassion. Do you know why? Because object of the second compassion includes, of course, all the sentient beings, but also Pratyeka Buddhas and the Sharavakas, not only during the path, but even after they achieve enlightenment. They are object of the second compassion. And all the post-meditation stage of the first bhumi to all the way to the 10th bhumi bodhisattvas, Mahayana bodhisattvas, their post-meditation time is object of the second compassion. It's a very big deal. Why? Why is 8th bhumi bodhisattva? Why is his post-meditation time object of compassion? What kind of pain does he have? Well, when we talk about the pain, we are not talking, remember we talked about suffering, the defining characteristic of what is pain? And I'm giving you 4. And they have that. Not necessarily the headache or stomach ache or anything like that. But, you see, their meditation is progressing. What is progressing? It's fleeting. Progressing, improving. You know, we, our practitioners, may be bragging about how our meditation is improved all the time. It's actually none other than the object of compassion. Progressing. Progressing is a very bad thing. From in this case, progressing means fleeting, changing, dependent. Post-meditation time. Post-meditation time, not the meditation. There's a little bit of problem here. Okay. Just to give you some rough idea, because substantialist. Okay, when I say substantialist, I'm referring to Vaideshika, Svatantrika, and Chittamadhisika. Substantialist Buddhists, they disagree with what we have been talking earlier. For instance, Dharma Thimphu, he has this notion that just because it is fleeting does not mean that it is essential. Because according to the substantialists, such as Vaideshika, even the Buddha's wisdom is fleeting. It's a momentary illusion. It's a continual process. But it is not essential. So they define perception slightly differently. They say that anything that is caused by the pleasure, two-kind of pleasure, which is craving and grasping, is the same. Okay, the last question, the non-duality. Actually, the non-duality compassion, again, the actual compassion is the 4 saloka, the 4. Starting, and like the moon in rippling water, beings are fleeting and in nature empty. world actually has it too, but especially more the nature entity. Okay. So okay, just to make it easy to understand, maybe what you can do is divide. And like a moving, rippling water, beings are fleeting. Up to that point, object of second compassion, and then from then on, object of the nature of the third compassion, or the object of the third compassion. But why are we combining this? Why do we use the analogy moon in the rippling water? There's something quite, there's two attributes for it. First, the moon is not the real moon. It is in the water. It's a reflection. Not truly existing moon. But even the truly non-existing moon has an action. You know, this water is hit by wind, wrinkles, and then the reflection of the moon moves. So it's a bit like a promise which is falling here. The moon is free in the water. You can say that. You can even think that the moon is moving in the water. But that is a contradiction. There is no moon that is moving. First of all, it is just action. The movement of the moon, the fleeting movement of the moon, is caused by another temporary cause, such as wind, such as the water, what we now do. And this is the analogy that every being, every object of compassion is suffering being that we have talked all this time are like the moon. They have no essence. In reality, they have truly exist. Yet they still manifest. Not only manifest, but they still have this seemingly fleeting and moving display. This is the non-duality compassion. Non-duality compassion. Non-duality compassion. This is object of this non-duality compassion is mind that does not grasp or understand as the realization of this non-duality. That is object of the third compassion. So, which means the third compassion's object is everything, including even the meditation stage of the 10th Lumi Bodhisattva. Why? Why? Because why is he still on the 10th? Because he has not finished realization of emptiness. And the object of third compassion is someone who hasn't got a full picture of emptiness. Now let's go back here a little bit, because this is quite important. Earlier in the second stanza, Benedict said, Buddhahood's abundant compassion is the seed, it is like a moisture blooming in trees. He said, it is like a seed and it is like fertilizer of water. Why compassion is like a water fertilizer? Of course, all the other reasons, but more than all the other reasons, because of this non-duality. I think we have talked about that during the Bodhisattva also. For a Bodhisattva, when he or she manifests compassion towards the sentient beings or problems, whatever, he or she knows that the object of compassion problem that they have is like a rippling moon, meaning they do not exist entirely. This understanding gives a bodhisattva a strength, because you see, when you don't have that non-duality compassion, then your compassion is goal-oriented. Your compassion has dual compassion, meaning your compassion is very attached to the object, that your patient, your victim. They are actually your victim. They're not even an object of compassion. Because you set up a goal that by me pulling out his teeth, he will have no pain. That's what you understand? You set up a goal and you believe in this goal, you think that and this goal is the only real goal. And this goal will liberate him or her from pain. All kinds of clinging. Once you have that kind of clinging, to the goal, to the action, all of that, there is what can lose inspiration instantly. Because, as Shantideva said, if you want to make this world soft and gentle, where that is true. If you want to conquer the whole world, make everyone have harmony, truly believing that this problem exists, it's just not. Understand the emptiness. So when the bodhisattva has this kind of non-duality compassion, this will make the bodhisattva so much courage, because after all he is playing with an illusion. He's enjoying it. Therefore the compassion becomes like a nutrition. More the better, more illusion, more gain, more fun. Bodhisattva sees them best once they his wisdom is beneath compassion's power. That's a beautiful word. So, someone who has this true compassion is what we call a child. And his only wish is to be represented. His wisdom not only afraid of samsara, but he is also afraid of yoga. Why? This is wisdom, this is meaning. He wishes to dwell in samsara. But because of the wisdom, his wisdom doesn't let him dwell in samsara. So there is this. And let's take a look. So the stanza 4 talks about the meditation stage of the first bodhisattva. Stanza 5, 그리고 member 정무 방어가 그네바트는 보시자고. especially the first two lines. This describes briefly the post-meditation state of the first Brahma Bodhisattva. What does he do during the post-meditation? He does prayers, samatha bhava prayers, aspiration. Aspiration is the first Brahma Bodhisattva's main post-meditation practice. And this is what we call the first bhumi. The name of this bhumi is perfect or complete joy. Why we call him joy? Because here he has crossed at last the ocean of samsara. No more he's going back. He has covered every war of emotions that stems from the clinging to the self at last. 100 Buddhas have given him teachings and initiations in one instant. When he enters into this bhumi, 100 Buddhas will come and crown him as the prince of Buddhas. Now, bhumi. Let's talk about the bhumi. Bhumi in Sanskrit means ground, foundation, so ground. Ground where you do things. So, the bhumi also refers to land or citizen. The Malaysians call it bhumi putra. Indonesians also bhumi putra. Some of the soil or something. The soil. Here when we talk about bhumi, we are talking about a state that acts as a ground where wisdom and compassion grows. And also acts as a ground where the enlightenment quality grows. If you talk from the ultimate point of view, there is no difference from the first bhumi to the 10th bhumi, actually. Only during the relative truth, only on the relative level, then you can differentiate the first bhumi to the 10th bhumis. And the way we differentiate is how much each bhumi has destroyed defilements, how much they accumulate the merit. This is how we judge the bhumis. Bhumi or the state. It's not like some kind of a mileage points that they have to accumulate to then have the assembly of the Buddha to have to sort of announce the promotion from the first bhumi to the second bhumi. It's nothing to do with that. Very individual. Depending on how they destroy the defilements, how they purify the defilements, which is actually not other than accumulation of the merit. So, the moment a bodhisattva enters into this bhumi, then this bodhisattva will be renowned as the bodhisattva. This being will be renowned as the bodhisattva. He takes the name of the bodhisattva. You see, so here we know that when in the first stanza, when Chandrakirti says that Charavakas and those midways to the Buddhahood are born from the mighty sage, and the Buddhas take their birth from the bodhisattva heroes. He is referring to the first bhumi bodhisattva onwards, not like Shantadeva's action-oriented bodhisattva. This is a view-oriented bodhisattva. One more skandha. And here, bodhisattva now, remember earlier we were talking about family, the race. Even though we all have that race, the seed of the race, we are not born into that sort of family. But here you can now consider, now you have been found in the family category. You have been found, discovered, because you managed to gather the evidence that you have a certain DNA or whatever, that you belong to this race. So the bodhisattva, for now, he has been born. What is it? For now, he has been like offspring of Tathagata's offspring. So here, something quite important to understand. When we talk about offspring, we are not talking about being born from somewhere. It's more like you see, seed is already, and it's now being fertilized, watered, and it's growing. So it's something like that, bodhisattva stages. And the bodhisattva will conquer the three, or the bodhisattva will destroy or purify completely the three bonds. These three bonds are slightly difficult. Joy. How does it just become? Fetter, three bonds, three sort of chains that bind initially samsaric beings. But Bodhisattva will, as soon as he enters to the first bhumi, he destroys these three fetters, or three bonds. And they are, very briefly, thinking that the five aggregates are supreme. Yeah, that's it. That is good. These this is an exclusive Mahayana concept. We are not talking about, you know how we talk about three pleasures, usually aggression. This is much more exclusive, more refined. There's three bonds that we talk of, three bonds that binds a practitioner, not only sentient being. Okay, when we talk about ignorance, ignorance, aggression, and passion, we are talking about three negative emotions that binds all samsaric being. But here we are talking about a practitioner. What kind of defilement binds a practitioner? Three bonds. First bond or that fetter is thinking that aggregates are supreme, not only we are not talking about like five aggregates only. This is a human, very subtle habitual pattern we have. Anything that is put together we like sandwich, I think. You understand? Like ekibana, really, flower arrangement. Like structural design. Like reasoning. This is this, why? Because this is this. We are aggregated. We live in believing that when things are put together and when that makes sense, that is supreme. We appreciate that. That actually binds a practitioner. That's a big one. So we are talking about that aggregate. And second is karta, which is when you think that liberation is supreme, that actually binds practitioner also. When nirvana is something great, something important, something to be sought after. Just kind of so much paradox here. And then the wrong view is the supreme. Wow, that's a very difficult one. The wrong, when we might think that we don't have the wrong view, but we do. A lot of wrong view. Wrong view. More academical, I'm supposed to present you academical analogy, not touchy-feely. We should really try to make it more academical. So at the moment I can come up with, I will read, I got a little distracted yesterday and today, so didn't really manage to read the commentaries. But the best academical example that I can come up with right now is ignorance is inherent. Ignorance is, how ignorance is, ignorance cannot be destroyed. That is really a very important, really a strong bond that binds the practitioner. Now, of course, as I say this, one will think, well, that doesn't really happen to us. But it does, because most of our loss of aspiration, inspiration, and loss of inspiration, all this stems from this. You do not trust the nature of ignorance, which is compounded phenomena. You are not giving much thought into that. You somehow think that ignorance is, this is why actually I do have quite a lot of respect to the religion that teaches the original sin. As much as we can laugh about, how that is a wrong view, but that comes from a very sophisticated thinking, It is a very sophisticated thinking, the origin of sin. At the moment we can just laugh about it, but it comes from quite a strong and sophisticated thinking actually. It's something very stubborn. Basically, there's this ongoing notion that when I say I need to be purified, there's always this ongoing notion that what you are purifying is you. You understand? Instead of having this clear wisdom that what you are trying to purify is not you, but something else. That wisdom doesn't come that easily in our head. This is a difficult one. So anyway, well, of course, it is doubt. Doubt stems from the wrong view again. Because usually when we are doubting something, we, like how a journalist mind or intellectual mind, that small reason that you have is very petty. Anyway, according to Category's view, remember, you can only generalize. You can particularize. And when you are critical, when you are film critics or whatever critics, you are doing it based on a generalization. And this comes from a wrong view of thinking generalization is actually a particularization. When you keep on generalizing, you think you are actually defining something. That is also a wrong view. Very difficult to explain this one. Anyway, this is what will be destroyed by the first moving Bodhisattva. And he will have incredible joy. Maybe there's a lack of information. It's good to see Japanese colors of the generations. Went to college. They're skeptical. They don't take things from face value. But these artists have instant that's a good sign. So when you see these things, then you think, and actually, many of these young practitioners, they have facilitations through internet. So that's a good thing for us. Maybe the world is going very fast, but we have facilitators. But one thing is for sure. 30 years later, we will go back to the topic. I don't think we want to do this too much. But what can we do? I'm sure this is the great thing about Bodhisattvas. In our almost 2 days, I'm sure there will be some Bodhisattvas who can put Shantras into practice. And that's good. I actually Buddha himself praised those Bodhisattvas of degenerated times because they're very brave. My personal wish, or my personal ambition, if I have an ambition in Bhutan, is I really want to make Bhutanese, not all, maybe few, well, to make them understand Buddhism, that is or not. Almost. Individually, if they do practice, it's good. Very admirable. But I want Buddhists to learn that Buddhism is beyond dogmatic. It is beyond basic needs of mind science. And as long as I could do that, then I'm quite happy. Because if not, if we get too carried away by dogmatic things, morality, ethics, and all that, without the wisdom, Buddhist Osama bin Laden is right in the corner. And I tell you, it would be so easy. Someone like me, I can go to some remote places in, I don't know, East Bhutan and say, hey, look, if you kill such and such, other religious people, you will actually go straight to heaven. I believe that there will be some people who will do it. Just because I said so. That's dangerous. That's really dangerous. And especially in about 2 years' time. Wow. The opportunity is there. I could run for a Jimmy. Is it Jimmy? I think I could actually somehow, without some of these people knowing, bribe some people and get by. And easy. A religion that is dogmatic religion can be used by politicians so easily. And that's so dangerous. And then that's a really big, we are destroying Buddhism. And that's what I want to see. I want to see there's more and more in the world, intellectual people are beginning to see the greatness of the Buddha's conclusion. Let me see. Any more questions?
My flash of lightning bodhicitta. I'm a bit shy, as anybody in Asian society, as Rinpoche keeps saying. They've pressed me to ask the pressing questions. There are 3 questions, Rinpoche. The first question is, if life is a dream or life is an illusion, perhaps I can get away with killing. So that's the first question that one of my friends
Okay, let me answer this first, because otherwise I forget. Okay. No, because yes, life is like a dream, but if you do something bad in the dream, within that dream you will suffer. You don't want to have a nightmare, do you? So, of course, the cause and conditions are like a dream, but effect is a dream. But when it comes, it bothers you. I mean, if in this small room we could dream an elephant walking towards us, that could be tormenting, isn't it? During that time. See, the reason why, okay, let me tell you this good sort of description. The reason why we think last night's nightmare is not a big deal. It's because we think, well, first of all, it does not exist. It never happened. It was just a dream. And of course it didn't happen, because how could, an elephant fit in that door and stuff like this? We have good logic. But you see, time, size, space, these are all you are thinking. A bodhisattva. Okay, let's assume that we are all reaching to the 10th Bhumi Bodhisattva, 10th level. There's a hierarchy, there's a grade. The 10th is the last. And let's say we have reached there, and the last limit, next moment, you are becoming Buddha now. Okay? And then you look at your life. From the time that you were sentient being up to there, you as a bodhisattva will experience them as it. All these lifetimes, millions and millions of lifetimes, all these lifetimes actually happened during the duration of a spark, like coming out and dead. How long does that take? 2 seconds, 3 seconds. All this so-called long, sort of sentient, long time, or the duration of the sentient being has happened instantly. So we are talking about projection. If you know that life is a dream, not only intellectually, but experientially, yes, by all means, you can do whatever you like. that's why we have people like Tupac. That's why we have people like Ralotawa. Ralotawa actually killed Marpa's son. In the Gajuba tradition, we have Marpa, Milarepa, and all that. Marpa actually had a son. Marpa's son, Dharmadodev, he actually held one very, very important tantric transmission called Poa Tongju. The Poa that we practice. This Marpa's son, he had this special technique to actually transfer your own consciousness to a younger body and then actually go on living. But that lineage got completely broken because only he had. And this son was actually killed by Ralotawa, another great master. And not only that, Ralotawa killed 13 different other masters through performing black magic. And in his song he said, I have killed 13 Buddhas, yet I have a confidence that I will not go to hell. So we are talking really high level here. If you could understand that much, then fine. Until you understand that, okay, put it very simply. As long as the nightmare bothers you, that means you are still subject of karma. Then you should not kill, because the nightmare can happen again.
The second question is saying prayers important? Is saying prayers, praying, is it important? Does one have to pray to attain enlightenment?
Longchenpa said, aspiration is the only thing that we can do, especially for the beginners. Prayers, aspirations, that's what we are talking about, isn't it? And I think it's very true, because when we pray, aspirations, of course, what kind of prayer? Again, these days we Buddhists also do prayers so that the stock and share market will not go up or go down or stuff like that. Maybe that's dodgy here. You understand? Do choga, do puja so that your enemy will not succeed. So that the rival archery team will not win. Of course, we have that kind of thing. Of course, depending on the archery, I think it's fun because it does not really involve any non-virtuous. I don't, not so much anyway. Maybe the worst is it may depress the other team for a week. But actually, really, we have talked about that a lot. Like sometimes the big donors nowadays, the modern donors, they ask us to pray for a certain market to go up or something like that. And many of these stock, they seem to have very unwholesome, like weapons, who knows, mass product of ready-made prawns, that's killing. So, but if you are doing prayers, may I become a bodhisattva, may I have devotion, may I have compassion, may I be benefit to sentient beings, like that. Those kind of aspiration is very important, because what it does is when you pray, may I become beneficial to sentient beings, automatically so many things are happening here. At least one thing, you are admitting that you don't have it, isn't it? May I be beneficial to sentient beings. Automatically you are saying, so far I'm not, please make me be one. And that admitting that I am not yet is a humility, humbleness. And humility is already a bad news to selfishness. See? So that way it works very well. So aspiration, if it is again with the right motivation, I think it's good, very important.
The third and last question is, the lady who is asking this question is a very hot-headed, very hot-tempered person, and she says that reading Dharma books or listening to Rinpoche's teaching, for that matter, anybody's teaching, it's not helping her at all. In fact, she's becoming even more hot-tempered and hot-headed. So she's really desperate. She says, Rinpoche, how can you help me? Plus,
okay. Maybe this will irritate if I want to know whether these teachings actually irritates her more. Because if it does, that's a good sign. Really, I'm serious, I'm not joking. If the teaching really irritates you, because there's this teaching saying that, hey, don't get angry, anger is not good. And yet you get angry. And therefore, you don't want, I don't know, anyway, you feel more anger. I think that's working. I think she should come to more teachings. And she should really deliberately read more books. I think I would say these emotions like anger and jealousy, sometimes there's many different ways of attacking these. Okay, we are a warrior. We will be talking about this 4th, 5th, and 6th chapter, and also 7 and 8. I think we will cover this. But so imagine of course, we are warrior now. This is the battlefield. The Thimphu, the Bhutan, the whole world is the battlefield. Anyone except you and your master is the hostage. This is your job. You have to rescue them. They are all being tortured. They are all being terrorized by our enemy, which are emotions. There's many ways to attack the emotion. Some really go forward face to face to fight. Some you blind them. Sorry, I'm using the word. Especially talking to you. Well, maybe the lure is better. Lure them. Don't try this method too much, because that's Vajrayana Tantra, Vajrayana practice. Because sometimes in the process of luring them, they will lure you. You understand? Because their emotions are very smart. They know all your ups and downs, your faults, your strategies. Some you have to trick them. Many of us, the safest is escape. This is why Shalvakayana, Hinayana method is safest. You escape. But that's also hard to do in our modern world, as we were speaking. There's too many goodies, advertisement and all that. At times, when the emotions, like obvious emotions such as anger comes, maybe what you should do, one of the methods is be mean to them. And there's a whole so many pages after pages about how to be mean to your anger. You understand? So you have to be mean. Okay? You don't like reading how anger is bad. Okay, let's be mean. Let's read more. Something like that. It works to a certain extent, and then you change the tactic. Well, if you have come to the right class, if you can't control your anger, this is out. Anyway, it's called Dajin Jevicha system. Exchanging the self and other religion, which we will discuss. Dajin Jevicha system. Just one more question.
Yeah, I've got 3 little questions.
Okay.
The first one is actually probably Rinpoche might have touched on this one, but I was trying to make meaning out of what Rinpoche said in terms of that in Bhutan we have got a lot of method but no wisdom. And I was just wondering, if we have the methods, how can we talk about getting wisdom out of this, and if Rinpoche can throw some light on that one, it would be good.
Okay.
The second one is the Shanti Deva in the verses, and I think in any Buddhist text, most of the Buddhist texts, we talk about death as horror, and whether that's a kind of a method to shock us and to be better human persons, or whether death really is like that. And the third one, which is I have always been confused about all the Buddhist forms of paintings, like Buddha, Samantabhadra, then Avalokitesvara, Manjushri, Vajrapani, and so on. We have got so many, and quite often I think our children also get quite confused. And I think there is an explanation about, is this really the representations of aspects of Buddhahood? Okay, that is done. This would be very useful.
Thank you. I will answer your second and third. Can you hold on to the first question? Check this out. Second is yes. The death is. We talk about the death, but not only because it's a skillful way of inviting, making people value the Dharma, but actually it is the fact. I mean, death is real. Death will happen to you, and no one likes to die. Basically, no one wants to lose what they have. Maybe I shouldn't say no one likes to die, because there are some people who wants to commit suicide. But no one wants to lose what they have, such as the pride, or such as their identity. This is why death is so much to do with losing the identity. Why are we afraid of death? Because if you think about fear to death, it's kind of irony, because no one has died yet. So we don't know what it actually feels. No one has died yet. So why are you afraid? And someone who has died already can't tell, hey, look, it's not so bad. They can't really say that. But what we know, why we don't like about death, is because we are going to lose our families, parents, friends, job, I don't know, everything, small things, big things. That's one. The third question about paintings, yes, this is where actually it might answer your first question also. This is where methods are taking over the wisdom. But you see, we have no choice. We need methods. Okay, in the Buddhist teachings, there are many different sort of teachings. Some teachings are very high. Some teachings are what we call teachings that requires interpretation, such as the burning hell. See, when in the Dharma Sutra, Bodhicitta, at the end, Buddha said, it's a discussion. The Dharma Sutra is a discussion between Buddha and Ramjur. Some of you must have read. Ramjur is a Subhuti, one of his disciples. It's a whole discussion, and also, of course, teachings. And finally, Buddha asked Ramjur, Subhuti, do you think I have taught? No, he didn't say I. He said, do you think Buddha taught? And Subhuti said, yes. And then Buddha said, well, you are wrong. Buddha never taught. And then he goes on saying, those who see Buddha as a form, those who hear Buddha as a sound, those who taste Buddha as a taste, those of, all of them, they have a wrong view. Buddha has to go beyond form, feeling, taste, all of that. Okay? So actually, but even formless, we are not talking about Buddha is like some kind of a space. Basically, Buddha has to be beyond concept. Beyond concept. Okay, I need to explain this one. We can discuss when we have to. Anyway, so, but that needs to be addressed to the disciple. How do we do that? We have to then do all these skillful means. So this is why, like for instance, like Samantabhadra, for example, that's supposed to be the most ultimate Buddha. The best thing that they come up with is they painted the Buddha without any ornament. He's naked. You must have seen that Buddha. That's the best thing they could do, because they wanted to tell us that it's actually formless. They want to also show you something. So what they came came up with is they actually show a naked Buddha. But it's really difficult to get through. Okay? Make this up. Okay, so, wow. Okay, just like we were discussing several times, when I think about the pressure that young people go through, and who is creating this pressure? All of us. Because we tell them, you better pass this exam. Or, you do go and study, because then you have to get this and that job. And not only that, but because some, neighbors, they're driving a very impressive SUV. What are you going to do? Land Cruiser. That's a pressure. There's so much pressure that, wow, there's a, Land Cruiser there, and I have to drive like this. There's this pressure. So much. When I think about how relentlessly we create this pressure to someone, not knowing that this actually has a big impact on the youngsters who cannot do.